friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicky and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. Today is going to be a little different of a video. We're not cooking anything. We're not doing any kind of Azure hauls. We're not doing anything like that. We're just going to talk about my favorite kitchen items. They're not in any particular order. I don't have a top 10. I have a top bunch. But one of those things is kitchen towels. I'm actually folding some that I took out of the dryer. But I have a lot of kitchen towels and I use a lot of kitchen towels when I'm cooking. And when I wash my kitchen towels and my washcloths for the dishcloths, and my aprons, I wash it in my homemade detergent. I put them in the dryer, but I don't put any softener in the dryer. So this is probably 1/4 of what I have in my possession. And another thing I really enjoy having is aprons. Because I do so much cooking and so much cooking with oils, that oil will splatter, and I have ruined many shirts because of oil stains. And yeah, occasionally I'll still get a few. But I have a lot of aprons. But again, when I wash them, I just use my homemade laundry detergent and I just throw it in the dryer with no dryer sheets. I have several cast iron pans. This one is my oldest. I have no idea how old it is. I just know that in the 40 years that I have had my own place, since living with my parents, I've had this cast iron. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was a wedding gift. I don't remember if it was something I had borrowed and never returned. I don't know if it was my parents. I really don't know where this cast iron came from, but it has always been in my possession for over 40 years. And here recently I bought a set from Amazon. Well, when I say recently, within the last 2 years. And it came with several different ones. And I think I paid $80 for it. But it came with a very large skillet. And then a normal size skillet. Which, you see those two together, you can see the difference. Came with a griddle. And it came with a Dutch oven. This is not an enamel coated Dutch oven. This is just a cast iron Dutch oven. And like I said, and it came with a really small one. This is dirty because I just fixed dinner. But I do love my cast irons. And cleaning these is really simple. Do not put soap on your cast iron. When I wash it, I just run hot water and I use a steel wool pad, just like this. And while the water's running, I'll just sit there and scrub it front and back. And then I take a paper towel and I dry it. And if I notice things are sticking, I will re-season it. And what I do is I just put coconut oil on it, put it on the stove top, let the coconut melt, let it heat up. Then once it's cooled off, I'll take a paper towel and I'll wipe it off. What you need for cast iron is hot water and steel wool and coconut oil to season it. Nothing else. So cleaning a cast iron, we're just going to run hot water on it. We're going to take the stainless steel pad here and just scrub it. We're going to paper towel dry it. It doesn't need to be seasoned every time, but when it does need seasoning, we'll just use coconut oil. Do not store your cast irons wet. That's when they rust. And if they're rust, they're not ruined. Just take steel wool or some coarse sandpaper and just scrub the rust away. Hot water, steel wool, wash all that rust away, and then season the whole thing, the inside, outside, handles, everything with coconut oil. Stick it in the oven on the rack with a pan on the next shelf below to catch any of the drippings, and heat your oven to 400 degrees. Let it cook for 30 to 45 minutes. Turn your oven off, let it come back to room temperature. Get a paper towel, wipe off any residue, and you now have a perfectly good cast iron pan. Do not throw them away when they're rusted. Iron will rust when wet. That's why we have to put these away completely dry. Now we have a clean cast iron pan. And another cooking item I absolutely love, my enamel coated cast iron. This makes great artisan bread. I've made many sauces and soups in this. Comes out beautiful. It is stained. I'll take the steel wool, same thing I use on the cast iron. I'll scrub it out really good. Now you can use soap on this. Just make sure you rinse it very well and dry it before you put it away. But I love my cast iron enamel coated Dutch oven. It's so universal. It's just amazing. Not counting this pot right here, but the rest of them and this same pot right here came as a set. About a year and a half ago, I decided I was going to replace all of my Teflon coated cookware to stainless steel. Went on the internet, see, what are the prices, and they can be super expensive. But I wasn't ready or in the position to put that much investment in cookware. So I went to Walmart and I found this whole set, which came with a normal size frying pan, a small frying pan, came with a large stock pot, and then 2 size saucepans. Comes with 3 lids, and it's the heavy coated at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a heavy coated bottom, and it's Tefal is the name brand. And I paid $79 and some change. We'll say $80. So I paid $80 for this whole set. So I figure I can invest $80, see if I like cooking with stainless steel, and then I'll go from there if I want to get a more expensive one. Well, this, I absolutely love cooking with the stainless steel. And I don't think I really need to invest in another one. This is perfect. If you put one little scratch in that Teflon, the compound chemicals that make up Teflon, that little scratch can seep out chemicals into your food and into your air. That's the danger of Teflon. Teflon itself, there is no danger. It is safe to cook on. It's just when you get a scratch in it, that's where the danger is. So I had a set of Teflon cookware that after doing some research, I decided I was going to go with stainless steel. And the way you can tell if it's stainless steel or aluminum as if a magnet will stick to it. So this is stainless steel, and I absolutely love them. Now these I will put in the sink with soap and water, scrub it really well with the steel wool, make sure I get all the leftover bits and pieces from dinner out of them. They are starting to tarnish a little bit, but that's okay. That just means love to me. When my pots and pans are used, they're going to get tarnished, and that is fine. And cooking with stainless steel is not hard. It is not Teflon easy, but it is not hard. All you want to do is you want to make sure you heat up your pan with your fat that you're going to use if you're cooking meat. If you're cooking a dry good such as toasting almonds or something like that, you don't need any oils in it. But when you're cooking meat, you have to put a fat in here. You want to heat this pan up. You want the fat to just have a little whisper of smoke coming off. You don't want it smoking, but you just want a little whisper of smoke coming off. And that's when you put your meat in it. And that will help sear the meat that comes in contact with the pan. And that's what makes it non-stick. So, decided to get this set from Walmart. This big one right here was actually a gift from a friend. It's a Kefalon, and I could not afford that if I tried, but it was given to me as a friend. Another really popular thing in my house is down here in this island. I have my plastic bins with the snap lids, and they have a gasket around here, so when they go on and you snap them down, they're very well secured. I do have a Cricut, and I did write on them, but I have 4 of these. It came with 4 in a set with 4 of the plastic measuring cups. 2 of them I keep with flour because I use flour a lot. 1 I have with sugar, and 1 I have with rice, just so I can have that on hand down here. But the reason I like these so much, because they have a big opening. This is actually a 2-cup measuring cup. I can actually get it in there and scoop if I needed to. And I used to keep these things in the 1-gallon glass jars, but the only measuring cup I could get in there, the biggest one I could get, was a 3/4 cup. And when I'm making batches of bread and I need like 6 or 8 cups of it, especially with my pizzas, that's just not going to cut it. It's just more scooping I have to do. So I wanted something with a wide mouth so I can use a 2-cup measuring cup to get in very easily. And I absolutely love these. Another thing I love in my kitchen are my spice jars. These I got from Amazon. I don't know how many ounces they are, but I absolutely love these. They're snap lids with a silicone gasket right there. So when you close it, they're sealed airtight, moisture tight, everything. And I asked my son, who does woodworking in his job, I gave him the measurements of my jars. I told him how many jars I wanted in each shelf, and he made me one for 6 jars, 3 shelves. Kind of wish I asked for a little bit more, because my spices have grown significantly since he gave me this a little bit over a year ago for Christmas. So I might have to switch that up. If I were to get him to make me another spice rack, I would have him make them to fit this jar. Now this is actually a mustard jar that I got from Azure. That's the mustard right here. And I like this size better because it holds more spices. And then this is one of those better than bouillon jars. I save glass jars from everything. Peanut butter, jelly, mustard, condiments. I save all the jars. But I think I'm going to see if he can make me one a little bit longer and a little bit wider so it can actually fit this kind of jar in here, because I think this will be better for the way my spices are. Don't get me wrong, I love the shelf, I love these jars, but I would like to have something a little bit bigger so I could get some measuring spoons in here a whole lot easier. But I do love this, and I like my jars. I like having my spices at the ready on my counter. And this is actually one of those mustard jars that I keep my salt in. And this is one of those better than bouillon jars that I keep my pepper in. We bought this, it's been going on 3 years ago. And I absolutely love the Berkey. Now, there are some controversies out there whether it's actually filtering or not filtering, or filtering too much or not filtering enough. I don't know. But when I drink tap water and I drink that water, I can taste the difference. Is it in my head? It possibly could be. When I bought that Berkey, it came with 2 filters. And they're supposed to filter over 100,000 gallons of water. I'm not really sure. I'll look that up before I post this video. So we bought 2 more filters because it has 4 holes in the bottom for filters to go in. I went ahead and bought 2 more filters so that I can have all 4 filters in there, and it filters a whole lot faster. Now, there's a test that you can do with red food dye in water to filter it, and if it comes out clear like regular water, then your filters are working. If it comes out with any kind of hue of red in it, pink or light pink all the way to red, then you know you need to replace your filters. But I do that about every 6 months to see if it needs it. So far, I've had the original 2 filters in it that came with the Berkey, and then 2 more filters that I bought 2 years ago. So within 2 years, I've had all 4 filters, and they're still working just fine. Another kitchen gadget I absolutely love is my Almond Cow. I don't drink traditional grocery store dairy milk, yogurt, cheese, anything. This might be a little controversial, I don't know, but I have bad knees. Not like bad knees like I need surgery to have knee replacement, not like that. But for 3 years, I was complaining about knee pain to the point where I could not get out of bed. I could not walk across the room. I could not get off of the sofa. I mean, I was hurting so bad. I love yogurt, and I would make homemade yogurt with conventional milk, make the yogurt, etc. And my knees were killing me. Went to the doctor and did some things, and nothing was working. Nothing. So he told me I had inflammation in my knees, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I came home, went on the web, and started looking up food that causes joint inflammation. That's exactly how I typed it in. And everything was conventional dairy. So I decided to do a science project. I'm going to give up all things dairy. I gave up cheese. I gave up milk, which I wasn't a big milk drinker anyway, and I gave up yogurt. And I started going to the store and buying, the cartons of plant milk. And I noticed I wasn't in pain. I can walk across the room. I can get off of the sofa. I can get out of bed. I was not in pain. So the only way I can tell if that was the issue or not is I had to reintroduce conventional dairy back into my diet and see what happens. So I went to the store, bought a gallon of milk, made my yogurt, bought some cheese, and started eating cheese on different foods. And within 12 hours, my knees were hurting so bad. I was literally in a fetal position on the floor, crying, unable to go to work. Doctors say there's no connection with conventional dairy and inflammation of your joints. But I can tell you, with me, there is. So I've given up all conventional dairy. I do buy my cheese from Azure, and it's organic, raw cheese, except for the mozzarella, because you're going to cook that anyway, so it doesn't matter if the mozzarella is raw. But so most of the time I eat raw, organic cheese, and I've had no problems. I tried their A2A2 milk, and it did cause me some discomfort, so I don't use that. But their A2A2 milk powder, if I turn it into milk to make gravies or sauces, doesn't bother me. I don't know what the difference is, but it doesn't bother me. Go back to where we were. I was chasing a rabbit hole. So the Almond Cow, before I found out about Azure with the organic cheeses and the A2A2 milk powder, way before then, I bought the Almond Cow because I was going through a lot of plant milk, store-bought plant milk. And if you read the ingredients on store-bought plant milk, it is scary. There's so many additives in it that I don't think that's even better for me than conventional milk with the knee pain. Gotta weigh your evils here. So I said, I'm going to start making my own plant milk. So I was doing it the old-fashioned way, soaking the beans, grinding the beans in some water, the milk bag, squeezing it out. But I found out I was doing that about 4 times a week to get a little bit more than a quart of milk, maybe almost a half a gallon, 4 times a week. And I was like, nah, it's gotta be an easier way. And I saw a YouTuber had the Almond Cow. It was pretty expensive then. I can't remember what I paid for it, but I love this. It's very simple to use. There are 2 lines in here. It says minimum and maximum, and it comes with a power cord that plugs in here into the wall with the nut basket, and it sits in here when you're trying to strain what's left in here, the collector basket. What you do is you put all your ingredients in here. You put your water in this, and that just gets screwed on. Drop this into your water, plug it in, and it's got a little picture of an almond cow. You push that, and it goes through 3 cycles of blending up the nuts in the water. But what's so good about this is you can get creative with your nut milk. Coconuts, almonds, walnuts, oatmeal, It doesn't matter. If you can make a milk out of it, you can make a milk out of it. I add a little bit of vanilla in there. I'll put some medjool dates in there just to sweeten it up. So easy. And I know what's exactly in here because I made it. It is just whatever nuts that I want to use at that time. Some medjool dates, some vanilla, and water. That is the ingredients to my nut milk. I love my Almond Cow. My Rachel Ray oil containers. And I got two different colors because that way at a glance I know this is olive oil, this is avocado oil. Because you know we buy our oils in gallon jugs. I don't want to have that sitting into my kitchen whenever I need just a teaspoon or a tablespoon or a couple tablespoons. So I have these. I think aesthetically they're beautiful. They're just gorgeous. Like I said, I had a cricket. I wrote on here avocado oil. And I wrote on this one olive oil. And I love these. Another thing is my vacuum sealer. I've used this vacuum sealer, probably had it for about 10 years. And I absolutely love having a vacuum sealer in my house. Now I buy the 5-pound box of vegetables from Azure. And instead of having them crystallize in the original bag, because it's just the husband and I, we don't go through 5 pounds of vegetables within a month. So I like to vacuum seal those into what we use as a serving, which is roughly about 8 ounces. So I'll go through and weigh out 8 ounces and vacuum seal those so they're easy grab. I know how much I'm getting. Love the vacuum sealer. And when I can catch meats on sale, I will get a big container of meat, whatever was on sale, and I'll portion those for just the husband and I will vacuum seal those to keep them fresh. Here recently, I've been getting ground turkey from Azure for a while, but here recently I have been converting the containers they come in into vacuum seal bags, only because it takes up less room in my freezer and I can put more things in there. So I absolutely love the vacuum sealer. I have 2 freezers. One's a 5 cube and we bought that probably 5 years ago. And since everything that went crazy in 2020, we bought a second freezer, and that's a 7.5 cube. So I have 2 freezers, a 5 cube and a 7.5 cube. If I could go back and do it, I would have bought one big one. But at the time when we bought it, the 5 cube was big enough. But because of 2020, I realized I need to have more food in our house. We went ahead and got the second one. But I like having a freezer because now, in the last 2 years, I have been ordering majority of our food from Azure. So I get our chicken, our ground turkey, I get the frozen vegetables from Azure, I get cheese, and all these things I can portion out into individual servings or, a meal for the husband and I can vacuum seal it and I can put it in the freezer. So I have food security in my freezer. So I love having a freezer because, I'll go to Azure and I'll get the 8-count whole chickens. Well, that's way more than the husband I eat in 7 days in order to keep in the refrigerator. So having a freezer to get bulk food at a cheaper price than going to the grocery store, or going to the grocery store and getting, a bulk item on sale, then I have a place to store it so we're not having to consume it all at once. Mixing bowls. My daughter got this bowl for me from IKEA. It doesn't have a measurement inside, but I love this bowl. And it's also stainless steel. I bought this 5 set from Amazon. And they're cute. They got colors on the bottom. But it has one that is got measurements in here. Let's see if I can find it. This is 1 liter. And that's to this rim right here. So that's 1.5 liter. That's a 2.5 liter. And again, these are stainless steel because this is a magnet. And it stays on there. That is a 4 liter. That's a 2 liter. And I got this stack lid glass bowls also from Amazon. There was one in here that was between this size and this size, but I broke it. But they just nest inside of each other like that. And it has silicone gasket. And they just snap on. And the top one has a handle you can grab. I like having glass containers with snap lids so I could put leftovers in the refrigerator. And I also have some other shaped smaller ones with the same concept, the snap lid with the silicone gasket. And then I have the food saver ones with the divider, also glass, where you have 1/3 of the container is small, 2/3 of it is big. Same thing, silicone gasket with the snap lid for when I have leftovers. Don't need a big container, but I just need something small. And my stock pot. So I've had this stock pot for probably about 20 years. I don't know how many quarts it is. I think it's 3 gallons. But you know that meme that was going around, if your mama brought this pot out, what is she making? My kids will tell you chicken and dumplings, because I made 101 recipes of chicken and dumplings in this pot when the kids were younger and everybody still lived at home. Since then, I bought this 32 quart, which is 8 gallon stock pot, because since I started canning and chicken stock, I try to make chicken stock in here, and it was not fun because I had to do it in batches. I mean, literally small batches at a time. So then I got this one. I picked this up off of Amazon. I don't remember how much it was. I don't think it was that expensive, but I love having different sizes of stock pot. So I got the one that comes with the cookware set for smaller items. I've got this one for medium items, and I have this one for when I need to do a large batch. You will be seeing this in about a couple months when we make our pasta sauce. This is going to be used a lot that day. Another thing I love is my canner. I have the All-American 921 canner, but it will hold 7 quarts of food or 16 pints, because if you're pressure canning, you can double stack. I can water bath can in my All-American. I just don't have to crank it down and seal it up and do the whole pressure with the weight on it. So I can water bath in it. But the water has to water bath, you have to cover your food for your jars by 2 inches. So I'm able to do that. I won't be able to do double stack of pints as a water bath because I don't have enough room to put 2 stacks of jars plus the amount of water I need. But it will hold 7 quarts or 16 pints to pressure can, or 7 quarts and 8 pints to water bath can. And I'll leave a link to the guide I use when I'm looking up the requirements to whether pressure or water bath can. I'll put a link to the website I go to, because not everything has to be pressure can, but not everything can be water bath can. But if I were to go back to myself 3 years ago when I bought that canner, I would get the next size up, that I could put 2 stacks of quarts in there or 3 stacks of pints in there. Because when I bought it, I was like, I won't be using it that often. 7 quarts is plenty. It's not. So I think it was $150 more for the next size up for 14 quarts. I would have actually bought it had I known how much canning I do today. So my advice to you is, if you think 7 quarts canner would be fine, trust me, it's not. Just go ahead and spend the extra and get the next size up that will hold 14 quarts. It's heavy. Now, if you were to talk to me 5 years ago and ask me, would I ever have a pantry like I have today, I would have said, no, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why do you need that much food? Since 2020, now I understand. This is a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid. And a gamma lid is a lid that screws off with this part that stays on the bucket, and it has a gasket right there that seals your buckets. Water's not supposed to get in here or anything. It is not long-term food safe, because you would need to put oxygen absorbers in here. All of my buckets are usable buckets, or buckets I use. If I were to use my food for long storage, I would put them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. I would not put them in buckets. But I have 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids, and I have 2.5-gallon buckets also with gamma lids that have various things on it. But my buckets are for me to use regularly. I got these from Azure. They have, where you can get 3 buckets or 3 lids, and I think they have a higher quantity. And I love the gamma lids. It's so much easier than sit there and trying to pry open the lid. The gamma lid is perfect. Another thing is, you saw us use this when we made Sunday gravy or a marinara sauce. A stick blender. I don't use this very often, but when I need it, I'm glad I have it. But it's in 2 pieces. This piece is washable. This is not. You can put this in the water, but you can't put this. But it's very simple. It's got 2 buttons right here. This is a really cheap one I got from Amazon. But it has a 1 and a 2. And it just turns this blade. And it's just a very simple blade. And it makes, it's called an immersion blender. But it makes for mixing things so much easy. I love this. And I told you when we were making Sunday gravy, if you don't have one, you really need to get one, because it is a lifesaver. Now, this is a new purchase for me, was a countertop roaster. But this thing is awesome. When I want to cook something overnight, I do not feel comfortable leaving my gas stove on all night while I'm sleeping. But I will put it in this countertop electric roaster overnight, no problems at all. I have fit, I think it was a 22-pound turkey in here, let it cook overnight, did great. But I cooked more than one chicken in here. Plenty of room. I want to say it was 3. And I've cooked 3 pork butts in here when we made our barbecue. We put our barbecue, made our sauce in here, everything. We did everything in this thing. I love this. I feel like I can leave it on my countertop, plugged in, on a low setting, and let whatever I'm cooking cook overnight. This has been a game changer in my kitchen. I love this. Cleaning up is very easy. It is aluminum, but you just clean the top. And it comes with a little wire rack, and you can see the little feet right there, so it's not sitting on the bottom. And then this part just comes out and you can just wash it. It is so easy. Very easy to clean, very easy to use. It's the All-American Sun Oven. It's got a leg on the back side that it will tilt so you can get optimal sun exposure. It's kind of hard to see this from your point of view, but it has this sun shield on it, sun reflector. So it gets a lot of sun. It has this rack inside that no matter where it's at, that rack will stay level. So whatever you put on there, when you have to adjust it, it stays in a level position. It's got these 2 holes. I don't think you can see it, but that is your sun indicator to know where the optimal sun position would be, whether it's down flat or at an angle. And then the sun reflects, and I've had this thing as hot as 350 degrees on a very, very sunny summer's day. But this thing is so nice that when I want to do baking in the heat of the summer without heating my house, I can just take this outside, put my food in it. It does usually take about twice as long to cook in here as it does in a conventional oven. But it's okay because it's free energy. The sun shining in my backyard, cooking my food, didn't cost me anything extra to do that. I love this. And in case of an emergency, at least I know I can cook. If that is something you're interested in, leave a link below and we'll cook together in this thing this summer, or when it starts warming up and the sun gets higher in the sky. I have a lot of trees in my backyard and in my neighbor's yard, so the way the sun rises and sets, it's continuously behind a tree. But once the sun is higher in the sky and I can get some good sunlight in my backyard, I'll take you with me and we'll cook together. Another thing I love having in my house is a variety of jars. So I have half pints, I have pints. These jars right here actually come from Azure. I like these jars better than the ball or curd jars because I can actually fit more on my shelves of this jar than I can of this jar. And they fit the same rings as the balls. They're just regular mouth. They're called wide mouth, but they're regular mouth jars. And I think the reason they call them wide mouth is because if you look at a ball jar, they're kind of square, and then you have these little corners Under here, this is round, and it doesn't have a big area going in it. It's called wide mouth, but they're actually, it's just the jar and the opening. It's pretty much the same size. And then I like having the wide mouth pint jars for when I'm canning meat. I think it's easier to get out of these jars. And then I have quart size jars, both regular and wide mouth, depending on what I'm canning. I like having a lot of jars and a variety of jars. Then I have the gallon size glass jars. You can get these from Azure. There are 4 jars in a box, and I think they're under $18. I think it's $17.88. But remember, you have to order your lids separate. They do not come with the jars, and I can't remember how much they are. But I like having a variety of size of jars, and I like having glass jars, and I even collect glass jars that were once food jars. Like right here is a jelly jar. I save all of my glass jars. Love having glass jars in a variety of sizes and styles for different reasons. Now, if you order spices from Azure, most of their spices that are a 1 pound will fit in a quart size mason jar. A lot of their herbs, if you order in a pound, will fit in a gallon size jar. A pound of spices will fit in a quart. A pound of herbs will fit in a gallon. Use that as a rule of thumb when you're ordering from Azure. And last but not least, my favorite thing to have is stainless steel measuring cups and measuring spoons. This was actually a set I got together that came from Amazon. And a magnet sticks to it, so we know it's stainless steel. And it's called KP Kitchen, if you're interested. But I like this set because it comes with 1/8 of a cup, 1/4 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup, 1/2 a cup, 2/3 of a cup, 3/4 of a cup, and a cup. So most of your standard measuring cup sets do not come with 3/4 or 1/8. And I like having that because when a recipe calls for 3/4, you either have to do 1/2 and then 1/4, but I like having the 3/4 cups. And also, if a recipe calls for 1 1/2 cups of something, instead of dirtying a 1 cup and 1/2 cup, I could just dirty a 3/4 cup and just do it twice. But I love having the 1/8 of a cup. And it comes with this very easy removable connector that I just keep right on top, hanging up on my pot rack over there. And the same thing with the measuring spoons. It comes with a measuring spoon level. We have 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/2 of a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 a tablespoon, and 1/2 a tablespoon. Absolutely love having those odd sizes that you can't get in other sets. And the 2-cup measuring cup I actually got from Azure. This is not stainless steel. It's actually aluminum. But that's okay. I'm fine with that. So I like having a 2-cup measuring cup for when I need to do a bigger item. Or when I'm making something and I need more than a cup or two. This makes scooping out flour, sugar, or even liquids a lot easier. And another thing I like keeping in my house is a Mocha Pot. This is an Italian espresso pot. The way it works, it's in 3 parts. This is the bottom, this is the top, and this is your coffee filter. And the way it works is you put water in the bottom. It has a little vent hole, and you want to make sure that stays clean. Nothing's in it. And you fill it with water just below that hole. Then you drop your filter basket in it, and you fill this with espresso coffee, and you use the back of the spoon and press it down. Then the top, the screws right on top. And then as the water is heating, it's boiled through the filter, through the coffee. It comes to the center, spills out into the pot. Once all the water comes through and the pot is full, your coffee is ready. It's the most authentic espresso maker there is. I make my coffee at home. I have a Mocha Pot that I make my espresso in. I do cold brew in the refrigerator, and I have a drip coffee that I make drip coffee. Yes, I'm a coffee snob. It's okay, we all have our crutches. So if you have any questions about any of the items that we discussed today, leave a comment below and I'll see if I can answer that the best of my ability. If you have a favorite item that you cannot cook or live without, let everybody know. We would love to hear about that. And if there's something out there that you're saving your pennies for to be able to purchase a new kitchen cooking something, let us know. We will love to hear that also. So if you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. And if you would, go ahead and subscribe. We will love to have you part of our Granny family. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.